In this video, I will help you get started with the brand new Sheeran Looper X, one of the most powerful loop stations you can purchase right now, giving you a basic introduction into the menus, the settings, and also how to perform with this loop pedal. First, let's get started with setting up our instruments. At the back of the Looper X, you've got 4 inputs. These are combo XLR jacks, so they support both guitar jack inputs and also XLR microphone cables, giving you incredibly high quality audio and also flexibility within the instruments you can use. Once you have successfully connected your instruments, you want to go to the master menu and go down to audio routing. In here, you can then actually choose where the audio will be sent on your loop station. So on the Looper X, you've got 4 loop tracks. Inside of here, you can choose which inputs go to which loop track. So anything plugged into input 1 will go to track 1, and then you can just simply toggle these off by just tapping onto the screen to enable or disable them. For example, if you had a microphone also plugged into input 2, you maybe wanted to do vocal looping on track 3 and 4. That then means both of these tracks can be used for singing and guitar playing, whilst tracks 1 and 2 can be reserved exclusively just for your guitar looping. This is very useful because it removes unwanted audio being recorded into your loops, which is especially beneficial when you're performing on stage and it's quite loud or the acoustics aren't too great in the venue that you are playing in. There's a lot more advanced things you can do within this audio routing menu, but I talk about that inside of my ultimate guide that's linked down below in the video description. This is a full online video tutorial class that takes you through every single setting on the Looper X from the very beginning all the way up to incredibly advanced stuff that you can do with this pedal. Now everything is fairly accessible by just using your feet with the Looper X. There's a bunch of hidden menus. So obviously you've got tracks 1 through to 4, and you can select them with the huge foot switches. But down at the bottom, we've got mode, and also we've got function. If we press function, this will take us to function A, which will give secondary commands to each of these pedals, which is outlined by the main display here. If we press and hold this foot switch, this will take us to page 2, which is functions B. Once again, you'll have all the corresponding features outlined to which pedal will operate these. And this is where you'll use a lot of the advanced features that the Looper X has, such as bounce track, multiply track, really useful stuff. But again, we're not going to talk about that in this basic introduction. That's inside of my ultimate guide. Now you can also customize the layout of this screen for different performance modes. You access this in the main menu where you've got track, wave, and then also mixer, which lets you adjust the track levels. Alternatively, you can access these while you're performing by pressing and holding the mode foot switch, where you can then press these corresponding foot switches to boot into these different performance modes. And also where you can change the looper operation into multi, sync, song, or band. Because if you didn't know, the Looper X actually has got 4 different performance modes inside of the loop settings. You can go into looper mode and actually switch these out. This is where you're going to unlock features such as a multi-length looping. So one loop can be 2 bars, one could be 16 bars, 8 bars, 4 bars, and they're all multiples of each other. So they'll still be in sync, letting you build up quite long, complex loop performances very quickly in a concise manner. Or you can run it just like Ed Sheeran does in multi-mode, where as soon as you record one track, all of them will match and be the exact same length. So we're gonna run it in that just for this example, because that's how it will operate straight out of the box for yourself. One final thing you may want to do before you dive in and record a loop is press the function button and boot into this tuner. This is really good, a little built-in tuner where you can just make sure everything is sounding right. And just like with our audio routing options, we can choose which inputs are active on the tuner, especially useful again if you have lots of instruments or also microphones picking up ambient noise, so it's very accurate. And you can even change the pitch reference or hertz of the tuner. So if I go ahead and lay down a loop on track 1, that is now playing back. Whatever I record onto track 2, 3, and 4, because we're in multi-mode, these will match and be the exact same length. I can proceed and do an overdub onto this track by just simply pressing the record switch again, and it will turn to orange to signify that whatever I lay on top of this would now be an actual performance. But I'm going to jump over to track 2. On track 2, I'm going to lay down a guitar. 1, 2, 3. So that's now playing back onto track 2. And on track 3, I'm going to go ahead and lay down another track. So that's now 3 loop tracks playing back perfectly fine. You'll see that we have this additional information that says layers. Now that's actually an advanced setting that I've turned on inside of the master menu, which is bars and layers count. This essentially shows us exactly how many layers we've overdubbed onto a particular performance, which I find is quite useful. Now, if I switch into my different screen view modes, now you'll see the advantage of the different screens. So this is track, it just gives us a simple linear layout of what's happening on each loop track with the audio visualizer. We can also see the loop track progression with the top bar, which is very useful for knowing when we're coming back to the 1. But if we go into wave mode, we'll now have an outline of the actual audio recorded into each track, very similar to a digital audio workstation. So you can see that timeline almost of what's happening on the pedal. Still got all that same relevant information for the bars and the layers. And then if we go into mixer mode, this is where we can now adjust different track layers. So I can fade things in and out just with the touch of the screen. It's so responsive, it's really fast. I can fade things in, and if I want to reset it, I just double tap, puts it back to its neutral point. We then also have mute, solo, and effects targeting switches up here, but we won't worry about this for now. And just below this, we've got panning, so we can pan to the left and pan to the right. Now, if I want to go ahead and actually stop a performance, these foot switches are going to act as my master play and also my master stop. So it's going to stop absolutely everything, then also play everything when I press those in. Now, next to these master stop and play switches, we have this mode button. Straight out of the box, pressing this once will put us into mute mode. This will now let us start and stop each loop track whilst the other ones keep playing, so we can bring things in and out. So we could bring out the drum beat and it's now muted. We could bring out the main guitar and just leave the little lick playing. And likewise, we could even stop that, but it'll still keep all the loops playing because we've not master stopped them, so we can then bring them in and just let that roll and bring that in, or master stop. Then we could unmute all of these, master play, and then just bring back in the drum beat and play something else. London calls me a stranger, a traveler. Oh, I get Sheeran, and then this city never sleeps. Bring it all back in. Now, there is also a feature on the Sheeran Looper X called Peel, and this is a fancy name for an overdub, or an undo rather, undoing your overdubs. So if we have all of our tracks playing, we can go ahead and do a peel. So if I overdub on top of this, so I've got that, and it's layer 4, 5, and 6. I can press and hold this switch here, and it will do a peel. And you can see it says undo. Undo layers 6 to 5. Undo layers 5 to 4. You can hear it's got rid of already one of the layers, and then also undo 4 to 3. Takes us back to where we're at. So this lets us peel back one loop at a time, which is a unique feature on the Looper X. This isn't possible on many other pedals. You can do like a mark back feature on BOSS pedals, but once it's gone, it goes back to a particular point. Now, this is a destructive edit, so you can't, unfortunately, reintroduce it by pressing and holding. You can't then redo the loop. You can only undo and overdo, and peel back one at a time. Whereas on BOSS pedals, you can undo and also redo by pressing and holding. Now, once you are finished with the performance, you can go ahead and do a master clear all by just simply pressing and holding the master stop switch, and this will clear off all of your loop tracks in a single press. There are some advanced features inside of the main menu where you can go to global settings and stuff, where you can actually change these pedals to do clear all commands on press and holds and double taps and stuff. But we won't worry about that for now because we're just understanding the basic workflow. But again, link down below in the description is my ultimate guide, which is the full video tutorial class that takes you through, I think it's almost 50 videos on the Looper X, going through every single setting that this pedal is capable of. One final thing that's important to know about the Looper X is the auto record modes. Now I'm going to go to global settings and turn my pedal logic back to the default setup, which is record, dub, play. You may have noticed that when I click this foot switch, it goes green straight away rather than orange. That's because I have my pedal logic changed to be record, play, and then I press it a third time or second time to do the overdub process. So with this mode, there's actually a auto record feature that's pretty cool. So if I go ahead and just record on track 1 and I let this play, normally I would click this foot switch again to play back, and then I would overdub and do whatever I need to do. Then I would jump over to track 2 and then start the recording process again when I was ready. However, what we can actually do is jump between track 1 and 2 with way less button presses. So I could record on track 1, and then once I know I'm almost at the end of the loop and I'm ready to go back to the start, I can then go ahead and click onto track 2. And then that's going to autoplay on track 1 and then auto record onto track 2. So I can start laying down my drums straight away. So let me give you an example of this in action. If I go ahead and record on track 1 and then I press track 2, you can see it played track 1 straight away. And now I'm on track 2. Same as well, I could do the same onto track 3. And then also I can then stop it. And I can go to track 4 and then press this when I'm ready. And then I can obviously stop that. So that's something really cool that a lot of people don't even realize the pedal's capable of. You can seamlessly jump between tracks and continue recording without having to press this foot switch every single time. Now, some final things you may want to know about your Looper X are these different menu systems: the performance menu, the setup menu, and the systems. Inside of the setup menu, you can access the loop manager and save and create presets, rename presets. The loop manager lets you go ahead and save stuff onto the pedal. As you can see, I've got stuff saved depending on the Ed Sheeran album. I can boot this in and I can literally reload a performance that I've saved from the past. And I can see it's even triggered the metronome, because on this patch in particular, I had a metronome patch saved. So it's actually remembered all of those settings, whereas we were just obviously performing without a metronome. So I can then go in here, turn off all of these metronome settings, but you can see it actually saved it into this patch for recalling, which is cool. So you can customize different presets depending on what you require. Also, below this is of course the system settings, which is where you access all these things that I've been talking about, such as your loop settings for metronome modes, looper modes, quantization, one-shots, time stretching, custom pedal menus, so you can create custom patches that you can trigger on these to access your own shortcuts, and then obviously all of the global settings for your different audio, USB modes. Now you can learn more about the Ed Sheeran Looper X and all of its advanced settings linked down below in the description inside of my ultimate guide. This is a full product guide series that takes you through every single setting on the Sheeran X, from the very beginning to super advanced stuff such as the MIDI setup, how to use external MIDI foot controllers, USB modes, custom patches and presets, and so much more. There's individual video lessons and modules on each of these settings and parameters that you can customize, and we go through stuff at a really slow and easy to follow pace step by step, compared to a YouTube video where we have to go through it at a much quicker rate of information exchange because of just the nature of this platform. So that's linked in the description if you want to get the most out of this pedal and fully maximize its capabilities. And on there, we've got thousands and thousands of students that have enjoyed my product guide series, my ultimate guide series, from a vast range of products from BOSS, Headrush, Line 6, and obviously now the Sheeran series. But for now, if you are brand new to live looping and you want to see some tips and tricks to help you get the most out of your performance techniques, you should check out this video next, because if you like this, you'll like that.